we have a challenge, which is we cannot say AI, we need to say taco.
Taco.
So roll.taco from now on, right? And super important, this topic for me is like top of mind, which is we're just doing this transformation at HP. How do we build this taco first organization? And the challenges around. In my case, for example, we're facing gigantic challenge on even finding the talent, understanding what is needed, what is happening. And from all conversations that we had so far, it's something completely new. It's something that it's even sometimes hard to explain to some old concepts that we had not long ago, right? It's a, hey, Billy.
Sorry, I'm a Miami taco.
Miami taco?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So again, please present yourself. Billy, you want to start?
Sure. Can I borrow your microphone?
Yeah.
Hi, guys. I'm Billy. I look after brand marketing for Virgin Voyages. We're an adults-only cruise line based in South Florida. If you're over 18, you're welcome to come on board.
Hi, everyone. I'm Angela Gruszka. I am head of marketing for Charitybuzz. We're the world's leading impact marketplace for one-of-a-kind experiences that benefit charitable causes. We work with over 5,000 charities worldwide. We've raised almost $1 billion to date for charity. So just imagine meet Charlize Theron on set, or ride a motorcycle with Bruce Springsteen. Those are the types of experiences that we offer. And we try to help brands and nonprofits uncover their unique assets and how they can monetize them for good.
Hi, I'm Faizan. I am the co-founder and CEO of Roll, which is video AI production for real people. Not like imaginary scenes, but like this panel or customer testimonials or events. Google and Adobe are customers. Whenever you need videos of real people, we help you shoot this with just iPhones, and at the end of it, it looks like a $100,000 shoot with AI editing it as it is recording it.
Hey everyone, Matt Hammel. I'm one of the co-founders at AirOps. We are a marketing platform that helps the best brands in the world show up in ChatGPT and other agentic experiences, and really excited to be on this panel.
Cool. So guys, you have some bright people over here, and we are going to go into a situation that it's a challenging discussion, and I'm going to bring some topics, and we're going to go into the questions itself. First one, and again, this is part of what we are learning, and again, we are learning almost as we speak with not AI, but tacos, right? The first one is operating model versus tools. Is it about the tools, or is it about the operating model that we play, right? Second one, stop a little bit with the pilots, think about the workflows. What is really working, what is not, and get used to it. Third one, it's context versus generic. If you're just playing with AI and you're still doing generic content, you're not doing it right. And the last one is stop with the taco BS and show business outcomes, right? And with that, the first question for taco first marketing organization is what changed it? So Matt, we had a good discussion on that. What changed it on the operational model for a taco first organization?
The first thing I would say that doesn't change is you need to be laser focused on what the goal is, both the entire organization, each department and function within it. Without clarity on that, adding either new processes, new AI tools will not result in the ROI that you're talking about. I would say what we've seen, and we're about a 150-person organization, is that you can run much leaner. You can have individuals owning one or multiple channels on the go-to-market side, being able to get just as much lift as 2 to 3 people. And really the way to do that is to, one, get context, right? So making sure you have the right information on your products, on your brand, how you want to show up, all the customer stories and data you have about your product, and being able to use that in campaigns, in your on-site content, in any of the workflows that create marketing assets that touch your customer. But it's really important to get the goal first, then think about the context, and then think about the end user on each of the teams. teams and making sure all of those are lined up before you actually start deploying things and trying to have AI run your marketing or your go-to-market organization.
So I'm just thinking out loud here. The same challenge is 150 employees you have. We have with 60K. So everyone feeling the same pain, right? Angela, what about you? We had some good discussions on that on Charitybuzz.
Absolutely. So I think there's this misconception that tacos is a tool or a technology. It really starts with a way to optimize your workflows, your processes. And so we're an organization that's currently operating on a monolithic platform. We're going through a re-platform. So we're product-led. And now as we're looking at this, how we're going to build the next generation of Charitybuzz, it's with tacos at its core. So it's really at how we can leverage it to optimize the end-to-end customer journey, the end-to-end workflows for our buyers, our suppliers. It's not about layering it on as a tool, but it's really about how can we get to that outcome better? How can we get to that outcome faster? How can we produce an outcome that's better than what we have today? So I think that a lot of organizations are getting this wrong because they're looking at it as innovation and this shiny object. But the reality is it's already here and we all need to use it. We need to figure out how to use it to make us do our work better, more efficiently, and ultimately drive accelerated growth.
So Billy, do you want to go for it?
Yeah, I would say our point of view is similar but slightly varied. We started the kind of like transformation of our company using AI by stopping and saying, you don't want to add AI to an already broken process, or you don't want to just reinvent the same old process now, injecting a bot into the mix. And so what we've tried to do is talk to teams that are responsible for like big operational hurdles, like getting 2,700 people off a ship by 10 a.m. and then having another 2,700 people on the ship by 3 p.m. How can we make that quicker, right? If somebody doesn't have to look at their phone to see what the next cabin they need to clean is, or making sure that the provisions they need for the restaurant that they're setting up in 3 hours, if it's already on board, they just get a notification versus having to go and look for the email that says it. Those are things that we can do with AI really quickly. It's really value add to the crew, but it is reinventing the way we're kind of having those processes work from the start.
So then I'm going to go to Faizan because it was exactly a discussion that we had, is real business value. And I met the technology for Roll at Adobe before I even met Faizan. And for me, I remember, this is a freaking cool business case that, again, you change the structure. As you said, don't fix a broken process. Create a new one, right? So, and again, Roll for me is a definition of that. So how do you see?
I think in our case, what we noticed was that a bunch of AI kind of technology is like point solutions. So it's like, hey, I'll take care. There's this massive workflow and I like this small piece, I can do it, like this 6-second piece or this little thing I can do. And then it's very broken for somebody managing the whole workflow. So what we went for in terms of like where we think like marketing departments see a ton of return on their time investment, on their capital investment, is solve the whole workflow. So in our case, what we said is we will record the video, we will produce the video, we will color correct the video, we will edit the video, we will create the social clips and give that to you. So it's like the whole workflow that used to kind of span multiple people, multiple different softwares, multiple different workflows. So this kind of like outcome-driven opportunities, like I think that's where the future is. And that's also where the future where tech folks should focus. And that's the future where marketing folks should focus, which is like, hey, take a whole workflow and try to make it much more faster and efficient. So in our case, there are a bunch of cool AI kind of like visual things that we do that people really like. But in terms of the outcome, what they really, really like is, oh, I can get edited videos in 4 hours. I had never heard of that before. So that outcome-driven kind of approach, and that outcome-driven approach, even for we meet marketing leaders that sometimes are so in the weeds that they have lost sight of the final outcome. They're so kind of focused on that small, narrow piece that they have lost sight of the big objective or the outcome, right? So I think everybody kind of zooming out at the 5,000 feet view, and I agree with what was said before, which is like you cannot optimize something that is broken already. Like I love when Richard Feynman, the famous physicist, said, if you can't teach something, you don't know it. Like if you know it, you should be able to stand in front of a blackboard and explain it very, very quickly, and then people will understand it, right? So if you try and apply it in partial steps of a workflow that you don't understand, that is a recipe for something that won't work.
And there is one thing that technology and tacos, it's basically enabling right now. So for example, if I take 3 weeks to produce something, there's a big chance I'm not going to have the time and the team to do the personalization that I want. If I take 4 hours, then that is possible. So I see tacos as an enablement for a lot of things that we have been talking for a real long time. And this is changing. That's, again, the perception of myself on the, let's say, marketeer side of the house, looking at technology and say, wow, now I can do it. As you said, how do we take people out of the ship first? That is something that for me is amazing. But there's one thing for me that this is the nice side. But one thing that we discussed, what was harder than expected? To get that, to optimize that, to basically enable that in your organization.
Yeah, the hardest thing, and what is becoming increasingly the bottleneck, across any team with any sort of high risk work being done, whether that's legal, whether that's content marketing or SEO, is the final mile review, especially in cases when there is expertise needed to review and refine whether it's content or the output of AI. And that expert context is frankly the most scarce thing in organizations, and why you're seeing adoption barriers in organizations. And so what we've had to do is basically build our product to attach to the existing workflows that customers have, how they review content, how they inject expertise, whether it's medical or legal or brand, and try to make that process as efficient as possible to use the scarce hours of time and eyeballs that you can have. And I'll tell you, it's still a work in progress, both for us, we do it every day, and for every organization, especially in the case where they have 200,000 SKUs that they need to be accurate. So
I'm going to move to Faizan. Thanks so much, Matt. I'm going to move to Faizan because I remember a discussion that we had. Again, you were the one trying to break what is there today for something better. And I remember a discussion that we had on inertia. Tell me about that one.
Yeah, so I think inertia is always there, right? So whenever you have a new technology available, as you look at business adoption and enterprise adoption, one of the problems is that your previous workflow and process was just set up for a previous set of technologies. So hence you have a lot of inertia in terms of adopting new technologies, right? And we talk a lot about, for example, potentially AI affecting jobs. So I would say we should be candid. AI will affect jobs if there are folks who don't adopt it, right? So it's almost like saying, I remember there were people who were like, I don't like cell phones. I don't like doing that much on cell phones. But now it's kind of hard to have a job and say, oh, I am not able to use a cell phone, right? So these challenges of how inertia inertia really, really hurts, especially if the company is doing well financially and then suddenly it backfires, right? So all the companies that are doing well in revenue, inertia is hidden there, because those companies think, hey, the same machine is working. The same legacy process that was there 15 years ago is still working today. So there's a lot of inertia there. In startups, where every minute counts, every week counts, they actually really, really kind of focus on finding the fastest, most efficient way of doing it. So I think for marketing leaders in bigger organizations with a lot of stable revenue sources, it is even more important to be self-reflective and look at every process and say, am I up with the times? Am I doing the right thing to do this in the most efficient way? Even if all my people are telling me, this is how we used to do it, this is how we have done it for the last 15 years. But is this the right way to do it now compared to your competitors who might be using the most efficient way of doing it?
So let me go into something that we're always trying to break things, right? I think everyone that speaks about innovation, it's about breaking and fixing better, right? Maybe not fixing, but again, innovating, as we call. But let me ask you something. And this is for you both because your experience is mandatory to your customer. What about the guardrails that are non-negotiable? Because we're talking about breaking, but the experience cannot break. It can only be better, right?
Yeah, I think our point of view on the previous question is very different. The thing that didn't work with us deploying AI at the beginning was the data. Like, as a marketing organization that has goals and has metrics that we may or may not agree with, but our board wants to see, when we tried to go back and make creative with AI or be more efficient with audience segmentation or using an MMM, all of those things only work if your data is set up properly. And I talked about this stat previously. Starting at the beginning of 2026, we went and looked at all the data we had been collecting since we'd operated, and it was over 7.5 trillion data points. And we're a small company. We have 4 cruise ships, right? We've only been operating since 2021. And so think about like companies like HP that have decades worth of data. If you don't have the right data structure, or even to deploy AI, a semantic layer that can explain what this 3-letter abbreviation means, like all of the tooling in the world is never going to help you. And so what we found was we needed to go out to, like, the innovation hub for our company sits on my team in the marketing org, which is it's not normal, but it has actually created what we think is an acceleration for us being able to do things more quickly, because I can go and pluck the data engineer out of IT and say, come and work on something fun with me. So it excites them because it gets them out of the monotony of their day-to-day, but it also helps us get things done really quickly. I would say the same thing's true when it looks at how we're analyzing how AI is impacting people's productivity, right? Like, we democratized access to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini Enterprise. Anybody who works at Virgin Voyages can have any tool that they want, but it has to be enterprise grade so that we're protecting people's information and that our like financial and privacy data isn't getting out. But we're not preventing anybody from showing up and saying, hey, I want to build this thing. Like, it's not my job to get in their way and say, oh, you prefer this tool because it does this thing. As long as I can make sure that we're safe using it, I want you to be able to have access to it. And so I think that's where, for us, we're looking at it much more broad scale about the quality of life improvements people are going to have, but also having the right back-end infrastructure to support the innovation.
Yeah, and this is pretty cool, by the way. Not everyone has this kind of mind on, it's open, bring me what you learn. And I'm going to go into a topic that is, and I love this one, which is adoption is high. Everyone is using LLMs, but maturity is not. So that for me is a gigantic step. So there is some data here. There's a company that 75% of the marketeers are using tacos, but they're still not doing anything around personalization. So where's that going, right? Where is the business value and etc.? So how do you guys see where these humans are still going to be essential instead of just playing around and really not delivering the business value that we want out of that? What is your point of view on that? Humans mandatory for the process instead of just playing with the technology itself?
So I definitely think humans are mandatory. So you can't think of AI as a replacement. I also think it's a change in mindset. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we have. And the way that you can sort of get over that hurdle is you integrate it into your existing processes. So it becomes mandatory. But the problem is to start to think about how you view something from the perspective of how you can leverage AI to optimize a process is the challenge. Like, it takes time to understand that. And how do you roll that out through your organization? Because when you start to talk about those outcomes, how are you going to get to that outcome? If you don't approach it with the right mindset, you're not going to ever get there. You're not going to be able to use AI in a way where it's going to be effective to actually get you to that positive ROI or that positive outcome. So that's one of the challenges I think that we're having, is trying to think about, if we're going to become AI first, we're going to integrate it into all of our processes, how are we going to build those AI champions throughout our organization to enable us to proceed forward to get to where we need to get to? And so part of that, obviously, is the human intervention part. So once you understand that, you can't just think about AI as a replacement. You need to think about, at what point do I need to come in there and do I need to analyze the output, especially when you're starting to think about content production. So for us, we work with a lot of talent. And so right now we're looking at, how could we utilize Claude Coworker? How can we build these workflows where, we have talent coming to us all the time and we have to produce all of these social content, all of these scripts and so forth. And we have to do it pretty rapidly. And we don't want to turn down opportunities because we're obviously at the mercy of our talent schedule, but how can we produce that quicker? And sometimes it's approached from this perspective of just let AI do it. But the reality is, you're never going to get to a point where it actually is what it needs to get to in order to get that talent approval. So at that point, you need to know when the human intervention is required. And you're basically becoming an editor. And I think if you rethink the way AI fits into your organization as coworkers, then I think that will help you change that mindset of, like, it's not a replacement, but it's now someone else that you're working with. They just may not be a human.
So question to you guys is, and that's for everyone here, is the next human a different human than the human that you have today? How so?
Well, it's interesting you talked about personalization. That was the original question, right? I think for us, that's a really subjective term, right? We've had personalization in all different forms, right? We put somebody's name in an email subject line. Yeah. But actually, in the context of today, people want to be seen as an individual. They want to be part of a community, but they want you as a brand to talk to them and their desires and need states individually. And so the way that we're approaching it is, we're using the technology to absorb information and shopping signals that they're giving us, and then modifying the way that we go to market to attract them as a customer on behalf of them. So for example, if you come to the website and you're shopping for a Caribbean cruise, the next ad you see is going to be about the cruise you were looking at. Or if you tell us you're there to celebrate an anniversary, we're going to show you an email that talks about all the benefits of coming and celebrating that milestone with us. And so the personalizations are turned in a way that is back at the customer, not on behalf of the company. Now, what I would say is, you also have you run the risk of it being really Big Brother. And so we're fine-tuning it every day, right? If somebody gives us a negative review on, like, wow, that was really creepy that you knew I wanted to go in March to the Caribbean, we probably have to turn it down a little bit. But I think the technology is progressing so rapidly that the comfort level of the consumer is also changing pretty drastically. So, yeah, I think it's something that we're evolving every day.
And looks like you are moving out of getting stuck on pilot mode, and you're getting into, like, let's do this thing, right? Not say something else.
I would just say we still have tons of pilots going on, but the important thing for us is we want to test and then go into production and learn something. Even if it fails, it lets us pivot and try something else. And so we have these tiger teams that are putting out, like, real ideas, like the example I was telling you on the ship. That was built by somebody who works on the ops team. He has a platform that he uses called Superblocks. He makes apps with the people that work on the ship. They work on a project together, and when it's done, that app gets retired and they go on to something else. And so if you take too much time and energy trying to make everything perfect, you're going to be left in the dust, because the technology will probably change by the time you get it out to market, right?
Cool. How about you, Angela? How these humans are changing, how these pilots are getting fleshed out, and real outcomes are coming?
So I think it's important to continually build and test and learn and iterate. And that's sort of how we began our journey, is that we saw that there was a need to improve our partner platform and how our products are input into our environment. And so we leverage Lovable and Cursor, and we built on top of Vercel, and we basically built a product that would have taken us 6 months to create in less than a month. And that was really the first impetus for us to say, like, okay, this can have a major impact on our business. So now let's think about how we can continue to build this out and continue to build these products that will help us build and improve our overall product ecosystem. So I think it's important to think about how you can start to build pilots that will have a tangible impact on your overall business, and not just like creating pilots for the sake of creating pilots because you feel like you should be testing and iterating in the world of AI, but thinking about how it ties back up to that end business goal to really drive that growth for your business.
You guys were born as an AI first organization anyway. From a talent perspective, who is the upcoming talent that you see on this world?
Yeah, so I'll answer this question and the previous question. And I hate answering it this way because I know it's not going to be popular, but I think as a technologist, it's my job to kind of speak the truth. Yep. So I think the skill set is changing more rapidly than it ever has in human history. In human history, it has never happened before that we require something so different than what was the criteria just a year ago or 2 years ago. At our AI company, we have PhDs in AI who are sometimes slower at solving an AI problem than the 21-year-old person who has never programmed without AI, right? And that thing of being AI native, like I look at my own skill set, right? So at some point I was really proud of, not being born in an English-speaking country, but really proud of how I know every word in the dictionary and how good I am at spelling. But spell checks make that skill kind of redundant, right? And there are so many other technology shifts that make certain skills redundant. And I do know that whatever made me a really good hire as a programmer 20 years ago means that I cannot find a job today if I did not upskill with the new tools. So this might not be popular, but I think everybody really needs to look at their workflows and be the ones to disrupt themselves. This is the way startups think, right? We think that, the reason we can disrupt the multi-billion companies is because they have more inertia and we can just adopt the new tool set and move faster. And then on humans, I think the biggest thing is that the human judgment, right? You as the marketing leader, as the leader of your company, you have the best judgment in terms of where you want to move the business in the context of like moving a massive, it's kind of like turning a big cruise ship, right? You have to move it slowly. You have to have a lot of judgment of what you're trying to move. So that human judgment, but that also means that people who were doing roles where a lot of human judgment and strategic thinking was not required, they might be in more trouble than people who have really honed in on that skill, people who have really worked over the years to sharpen that strategic skill, to sharpen that judgment. They're much better today because they have tools where they needed armies of people, right? So there are big shifts happening, and my only thing would be like, if you look at these tools with optimism and think about, hey, what does it enable? I can do something amazing now that I couldn't 2 years ago. That's the outlook that you need to be successful.
I'm gonna date myself a little bit, and I seen the beginning of the internet. I seen the beginning of mobile. I was in that discussion. I was working at Nokia at the time, and exactly there was the discussion, no one's going to use the cell phones, right? I seen the beginning of social, and now we're seeing the beginning of AI. For me, one thing that I seen, and it's completely different, is that this time people are interested. It's not just that intern on the back of the office that knows how that thing works and no one to talk to that person. So for me, that's a big change, right? And at HP is being great because it's bringing the talents in that I was not expecting. As you said, someone maybe in ops is basically coming with an idea, and that happened to us also, that we had we had no clue, right? But again, another AI first organization. How do you see that? Who is the next upcoming?
I would build on what you said. I would say there's good news. It sounded a little scary, but the good news is the barrier to entry has never been lower. The barrier to learning has never been lower, and it's plunging faster than you can imagine. That doesn't mean you don't need to stay current, but I code in Claude now. I'm not technical whatsoever, and usefully so. The things that organizations, especially bigger ones, need to do to make it so that it's not the next human isn't a new human. One is encourage curiosity and play, and that means taking some risk of what models you allow your team to use, what data sources and tools you allow them to connect to Claude and other tools. But the risk is worth the trade-off, in my opinion. The second thing you need to do is think about hiring someone externally or young, can be an intern who is frankly cracked at using AI. And then the third thing you need to do is pair that person, ideally in a competitive, fun way, hackathons, but in useful ways so that other people in the organization are exposed to these tools and what using them exceptionally well can mean in terms of impact. And if you do those three things, that's how you can really make tacos meaningful and hit ROI in your organization.
Cool. So we spoke about business outcomes. We spoke about the inertia. We spoke about new talents. But Angela, for you as a marketing leader, what should someone that is stuck in these millions of pilots happening should do in the next 90 days to be AI ready, to be AI first?
I think you need to build your AI task force. I think that's really critical. And thinking about it beyond just like at the executive level, but thinking about how you build this AI task force and think about cross-functional leaders and how they can help drive progress and start acting upon it throughout all different areas of the organization. I think that too many people get stuck with ideas and they never make it to execution. And so it's about getting those people beyond just the C-suite involved and really building those people at the middle management layer that are in the weeds. They're working with the customers and have them be a part of the conversation to help develop strategies and build AI workflows around those different outcomes, because they're the ones that are able to actually make it happen. And so I think that would be my number one advice, is to really focus on building out that AI task force throughout your organization, and also encouraging that experimentation. So making it something that you can relate to. So for instance, like with Claude Cowork, which recently came out, have everyone experiment with it with just like their own files. Connect your file folder to it and say, hey, did you know that you can use Claude Cowork to like organize and put all of your downloads into folders? Like, let them see the tangible value that can come out of this, because then that will help them rethink how they can leverage these types of AI for like true business outcomes. But I think you have to get in the weeds, you have to experiment, and it has to be something that they can relate to begin with.
Yeah, I would say we're really lucky that our executive team has been so forward thinking and allowing us to experiment. On Mondays at Virgin Voyages from 2 to 3 p.m., the company shuts down and we have AI discovery time. And there's awesome. No KPIs, there's no measurement. It literally, the only requirement is that you spend time experimenting. And one of the things that's really come out of that is you have people who have a very entrepreneurial mindset, and they have become the AI builders for our company. For example, there's a woman who's older, and she was responsible for putting together a fundraiser for her son's baseball team. She used Claude Code to make a website. It had Zelle, it had Venmo, and basically all of the things that she was going to have to like go and find these other parents to do, she did it on her own during that hour. And
awesome.
It totally unlocked the possibilities for her on how she could apply that back at work. But because we gave her the freedom, and to use your phrase, like the low barrier to entry, there was no risk. And we gave her all the tools to do it. She did it. And now she's actually helping us build a set of agentic workflows for our copywriting team so that if, like, the wind changes and the ship needs to move, it can just automatically send an email to people. We don't need a human to do that.
Guys, thanks for being open, direct, and the most amazing things, no matter if AI first organizations or marketing leaders, we're all kind of suffering and enjoying the same. And I'm going to use the waves. They're coming.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Thanks so much. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.